Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks for clicking on to the Sunday edition of the Long Range Discussion. Mark Hogan here. Hope you're enjoying your weekend wherever you are after a pretty chilly start. We've seen snow as far south as the Midlands yesterday and over the course of last night as well. And with winds dying off actually last night, it got colder than I thought it would. I thought we would have a temperature just slightly below freezing, but factoring in a pretty brisk northwesterly wind, I thought the wind chill would have been significant, but the wind dropped off, and as a matter of fact there was no wind chill, but the temperature did drop down to minus 6.5 here, so a fairly decent cold night here for sure, and certainly the cars didn't have that much in the way of frost. It didn't look that cold outside, but because of that drier Arctic sourced air, we did see probably colder for that fact. Number one, it was Arctic. Number two, it was drier, so the air can cool much more efficiently. And of course, less moisture means less frost in the cars. But certainly over the course of today, temperatures are warming up reasonably well, given the fact that we've got a very decent northwesterly flow and a reasonably cold air mass in place. But that sun at this time of year starts to chip away at these cold air masses, meaning it's harder to get the cold days, compared to with perhaps a month ago even. But that doesn't mean to say we can't see cold, even sub-zero high temperatures, but it's harder at this time of year for the atmosphere to do such a thing. But over the course of this upcoming week, folks, it looks as if it's going to be quite a mild week, more unsettled as well, more Atlantic driven. But certainly the atmosphere is now starting to change as we progress in towards the latter stage of the winter season. The atmosphere is quite fluid, so we're seeing ridges and troughs swing in and out, and it's going to be an up and down sort of a late winter and spring season, I think, for the British Isles and Ireland. I made a statement earlier saying about temperatures could boost up to 16 or 18 Celsius at the latter part of this week. Certainly the models do suggest that we are going to see warm conditions for late February. Certainly if we get up to around 17 or 18 degrees, that is unusual territory for the end of February for sure. The record, I believe, is 19.1. But let's skip ahead. This is the upper level pattern of the ECMWF, and we can see here the trough that dominated over the course of this weekend now starting to kick out, pushing into the continent. Notice how the region starts to take hold once again, milder air, but as well as that we're seeing cloudier weather conditions, perhaps some wind and rain as well. And you can see here we're on the periphery between lower heights and stronger heights at the surface here, or in the upper level should I say. But as I skip through in the Wednesday and the Thursday here, you notice a few things here. The region is starting to build. To the west we've got, yes, lower heights, so cooler conditions up across Scotland, perhaps even the north of England. But notice how the darker orange starting to show up here with this stronger high, this building on the backside of this little dip in the jet here. Now what I'm going to suggest to you is this. I do think it's plausible, folks, that we do start to climb into the 12 to 14 range quite widely across England over the mid to latter part of the week. Now you say to yourself, that seems a bit warm, Mark. Let's skip ahead to Friday. Notice how there's a pretty decent ridge here. Yes, this can change. It probably will chop and change slightly, but I do think it looks quite plausible given several factors in place here. One, the air and the ground across many parts of the British Isles is drier than normal. Now, that factored in, as well as that, we also have a stronger sunshine at this time of year. The sun is starting to climb higher and higher in the sky. As it does so, there is more energy that can reach the surface. Now, if you've got a pretty decent southwesterly flow, both in the upper levels as well as the low levels of the atmosphere, that can sometimes allow more heating of the air, so to speak. And if you've got hills here across the southwest, you can also get a slight modest downslope effect. Downslope being as the air crosses over hills, and downslopes on the backside and the lee side of these hills, you can actually get enhancement of warming of the air, because the air, as it sinks, compresses and warms up. But the drier conditions across England, favouring with the higher sun angle at the late stage of February, and as well as that, you have a drier soil as well. That can all lead to unusually warm conditions, and I do believe that the south could see that. Now this is off the GFS surface chart. You notice here the high pressure centered over France, or the northwest of France here. Notice where the isobars are coming from. Here's the Azores Island, a milder region, and of course if you've got a fetch of wind blowing at the surface from this region here all the way up across Ireland, mild conditions here, 14 to 15 degrees in inland areas, especially to the east of hills, is very plausible. Notice how Scotland has lower heights, so I'm not expecting temperatures to be abnormally mild up across Scotland, but certainly across the Midlands southwards into the south central part of England. Yes, I think it's very plausible that we could see very mild conditions at the end of this week. The upper levels as well as the surface conditions is looking favourable, factoring in the higher sun angle, longer hours of daylight, and as well as that wind is blowing out of the correct direction here to support such temperatures. So 17 or 18 degrees is possible. 18 degrees would be the high end of my range, and as well as that, it wouldn't be a widespread, it would be a localised 18 Celsius, I believe. But certainly it is plausible, given what I'm seeing here, that we could see very mild conditions. Certainly this week does look mild, and looking out further, it does look as if over the next 7 to 10 days, it doesn't look particularly cold in any great way. The latter part of February looks as if it could get a little colder, but it's still a long way out yet. But certainly this upcoming week, folks, does look as if we could see very mild conditions, unsettled conditions, and as well as that, at the end of next week, we could be looking at the warmest conditions since back in November. But certainly I'm trying my best not to come across as if I'm hyping this up, but I'm merely pointing out what I can see here. The forecast is out, and if it happens, well, you know where it came from first. But certainly we'll wait and see what happens. It'll be an interesting week ahead, folks. Winter certainly is not over yet. We've got plenty of time yet for a cold and snow, and I do believe we will see brief spells of that like we've seen this weekend across the UK. Hope you have a great Sunday, folks. Bye for now.